Welcome back, brothers and sisters across the continent and the diaspora. And to those discovering us for the first time, welcome home. You've just tuned into the most fearless voice in Pan-African journalism, where truth speaks louder than propaganda. If you're passionate about the liberation and dignity of Africa, take a moment, like this video, share it widely, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss stories that truly matter. If you find value in what we do, consider supporting this platform through YouTube's Super Thanks feature. Your contribution helps us stay independent and unapologetically African. We believe in dialogue, so drop your thoughts in the comments. We welcome respectful and thoughtful engagement. Your voice matters here. Disclaimer: this video is intended solely for educational and informational purposes. It is based on publicly available reports, independent commentary, and journalistic interpretation. We fully comply with YouTube's community guidelines and do not promote hate, violence, or misinformation of any kind. Something seismic is unfolding in West Africa, a story so jarring, it's making headlines and stirring national consciousness. In Burkina Faso, state television recently aired footage of captured insurgents accused of orchestrating a gruesome attack on the city of Djibo. But it's not just another insurgency. The captives, many of them now begging for mercy, aren't just locals.
We have some major breaking news coming from Burkina Faso. So it is now turning out that the identity of the people who were captured when Ibrahim Traoré and the soldiers were fighting the terrorists, their identities have been revealed. And let me tell you, it's shocking. So there were ECOWAS mercenaries. There were some people who came from Algeria. Some came from France, around 20 of them. And many of them were the Fulani people who were being paid to fight with the France. And during this operation, I told you, 800 billion CFA was found in their camp. This is the money that they were using to operate. And the leader was captured. He is now in the custody of Ibrahim Traoré, and he is being questioned on how they carry out these operations. So recently, Ibrahim Traoré has been using drones to take down the terrorists, and he has captured so many of them with a lot of gold and a lot of resources from Burkina Faso. And now they have been set up for a big punishment.
Some are reported to be of Fulanian origin, while others hail from Algeria and even beyond. Shockingly, several are allegedly tied to foreign mercenary networks. According to emerging reports, among the apprehended were men who had been covertly operating under the guise of foreign allies, some even traced back to France. As always, don't just watch, engage. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Let's see the unity of the continent, region by region. During the military operation led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, not only were these fighters seized, but an estimated 800 billion CFA francs was also discovered at their base. This wasn't pocket change, it was alleged war financing. Evidence suggests these mercenaries were being paid handsomely to destabilize Burkina Faso and loot its natural wealth, including significant stashes of gold found in their possession. Make sure you subscribe right now. If stories like this ignite something in you, if you're tired of Africa being treated like a battleground for foreign interests, then show it. Like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this. One of the captured leaders is now under intense questioning. The Burkina Faso government is investigating how these foreign fighters infiltrated its borders and who was bankrolling their campaign. According to insiders, Captain Traoré's administration has been using advanced drone warfare to hunt down and dismantle these insurgent cells, reclaiming control one village at a time. But here's the dilemma: some of the captured fighters are now pleading for forgiveness, claiming they were manipulated and promising never to repeat their actions. They say they'll change if granted clemency. Should they be shown mercy? Can a person who once terrorized civilians suddenly become trustworthy? Or should national security and justice override compassion? Pause for a moment and let that sink in. If you believe this is the kind of conversation the world needs more of, subscribe. Stand with a platform that tells Africa's truth, not foreign spin. Meanwhile, a fiery statement from South Africa is igniting another debate. Julius Malema, leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, has come out swinging, denouncing the narrative that white South Africans are being hunted in a targeted genocide.
No Afrikaners who have been killed here in South Africa is not true. And there are no 49 Afrikaners who left South Africa. You all know that. It's a fiction, it's drama. You know, America with drama is #1. That thing is Muvango. I don't know what is Muvango in Africa. It's just a drama. I believe they landed And then they waited for cameras, took them pictures. The next flight back to South Africa. If those people are farmers, it means there are 49 farms available. Why are we not expropriating them? Because they've abandoned them. But why is the media not telling us? Because they say these are farmers. Why is the media, through its own investigation, say to us, this picture you see is a farmer at this. They are not farmers. There is no one who left farming here in South Africa. I suspect that those whites were these ones who were looking after cars at the parking lot. They were attending to cars and they went to fetch them there. They can't live. They will never live the kind of life they live here in South Africa anywhere else. Even if you live here as a millionaire and you go to USA, your money gets reduced to nothing. So no American or Afrikaner will leave South Africa for America. It's not true. Our country, there's no killing of white people. We're not killing white people. We're demanding our land. We're saying, let's share this land. Let's all work the land. And if that is a crime, it's a crime we're prepared to commit. Because we can't, when we're asking for food, and say, no, you're committing crime by asking. We're having a robust debate on land in South Africa. And that must never be used to silence us by America.
He calls it fiction, a drama manufactured by Western media, particularly the United States, to discredit revolutionary African leaders. According to Malema, these so-called farmers who claim to be fleeing South Africa aren't even working the land anymore. He challenges the media. If 49 farmers left, where are the 49 abandoned farms? Why haven't they been redistributed? Why hasn't the press verified any of these claims? He doesn't stop there. Malema accuses the US of orchestrating these emotional spectacles to maintain ideological dominance. If those people really left, they'll be back, he says, because the life they live here, they can't find anywhere else. Subscribe if you believe land justice isn't racism, it's restitution. Like this video if you're tired of African movements being labeled threats simply because they demand fairness. As Malema's voice echoed across South Africa, a former spokesperson for the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi entered the fray. Reacting to President Cyril Ramaphosa's recent visit to the White House, he condemned the meeting as a trap, a stage-crafted ambush by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Marco Rubio.
President Cyril Ramaphosa visits the United States to talk trade and diplomacy and gets ambushed in the White House by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Marco Rubio in a staged performance over so-called white genocide in South Africa. Let's be clear here. This isn't about concern for human rights. It's about punishing an African country for even talking about correcting land theft. Trump dims the lights, plays a fear-mongering video showing graves and edited clips of shoot the boa chants. Then comes a lecture on behalf of Afrikaner settlers who still own most South Africa's land, wealth, and media. Ramaphosa tries to remain diplomatic, insisting crime in South Africa is not racialized and that land reform is lawful and overdue. But Trump isn't interested in facts. He is defending a system, a colonial inheritance. The irony? This comes from the same man who funded illegal Israeli settlements, backed coups in Africa, and brags about stealing oil from Syria. Suddenly, he is worried about farmers in Stellenbosch. Let's call it what it is: neo-colonial panic. The West is terrified that African countries may finally start taking back what was stolen: land, minerals, and dignity. Trump's stunt is a warning. If you challenge white power in Africa and globally, we will retaliate. And retaliate they did. The US has now suspended some aid to South Africa, recalled its ambassador, and is offering refugee status to white South Africans only. This isn't humanitarianism, it's economic blackmail. It's the same playbook used against Zimbabwe, Libya, and every African nation that dared to say, "We are not your farm anymore." Ramaphosa brought golf legends and billionaires with him, hoping to talk investment. But Africa doesn't need more business deals with bullies. What we need is solidarity, land justice, a new economy, a new political order designed by Africans for Africans. Till then, these meetings will always be traps. So on this Africa Day week, let's remember, liberation is not polite. It won't come through begging at Western tables. It will come when Africa stands together politically, economically, military, and says we will reclaim what is ours. No permission, no apology. That is the future they feel.
A conversation about trade quickly devolved into a lecture about white genocide in South Africa. This wasn't diplomacy, it was a performance. Trump dimmed the lights and rolled a fear-mongering video, complete with dramatic graveyard shots and cherry-picked protest chants. It was a spectacle not about concern for human rights, but a not-so-subtle message. If you challenge Western hegemony, there will be consequences. And consequences there were. In response to South Africa's resistance, the US suspended aid, recalled its ambassador, and began offering refugee status, but only to white South Africans. Not black communities facing poverty, not rural youth lacking infrastructure, only those fitting the Western media narrative. This isn't aid. This is economic blackmail. And it's not new. This is the same strategy used against Zimbabwe, against Libya, against any African country that dares to say, "We are not your colony anymore." Captain Traore didn't ask for permission. Neither did Gaddafi. Neither is Malema. And neither should any African leader who knows what's at stake. That's why Dr. Ericana Kihambrikweyo is raising her voice too.
Does care. Why should Trump care about Africa? He shouldn't care about Africa to the same extent that the African leaders really shouldn't care about a relationship either. If the relationship can be worked out, that's wonderful. But if President Trump is saying, I have a mandate from my own people to take care of my people, and I'm doing what I need to do to take care of my people, African leaders need to take that same position. You see, it takes two to tango. If President Trump does not want a relationship with Africa, Africans shouldn't be begging for it. Are you with me? But let me underscore this. The average African leader and majority of leaders of developing world, I can tell you, they are celebrating the exit of USAID, and we hope that there will be exits of many other NGOs that are carrying out nefarious activities in Africa and anywhere else in the developing world in order to further the agendas of their governments, which is to continuously...
Her message to Africa's presidents? Stop chasing White House approval. If Donald Trump is unapologetically putting Americans first, why are African leaders still begging for handouts that come with chains? Foreign aid, she says, is a myth, a mirage that keeps Africa trapped in debt, division, and dependency. And the exit of USAID and other NGOs with covert agendas? According to her, it's a celebration, not a crisis. Are you still with us? Then don't just be a spectator. Hit that like button, share this message, and join the wave of Africans demanding a future written in our own ink. Because the truth is this. Africa doesn't need pity. We don't need favors. We need power, unity, and sovereignty. And as long as our stories are told by those who seek to control us, we will remain in the shadow of someone else's empire. Let's pull back the curtain even further, because this isn't just about Burkina Faso or South Africa. It's about a long, bloody playbook, one that's been used to destabilize, divide, and dominate nations that dare to think independently. And the authors of this playbook? Agencies and governments that speak of democracy while silencing it in other lands. Just listen closely to what has been admitted on record. From Nicaragua to the Congo, from Laos to Iran, the same tactics: bribe, arm, divide, and destroy. Covert CIA operations have shaped coups, rigged elections, trained death squads, and even assassinated sitting world leaders. They have turned ethnic minorities into weapons, used food as a tool of control, and traded democracy for dominion. One whistleblower chillingly detailed how Mosquito tribes in Nicaragua, historically marginalized, were flooded with money, arms, and rations. But to turn them against their own people. The strategy: fabricate civil war, then step in as the savior. Sound familiar? These aren't the stories you see on CNN. They're not featured in textbooks. But the numbers don't lie, over 6 million lives lost from covert foreign interventions. And that's the minimum estimate. Most of these operations happen in the shadows, in countries without the power to push back, where the cries of the poor are drowned out by the static of geopolitics. Make no mistake, this is the same blueprint being used across Africa today. When our leaders talk about nationalizing resources, when they challenge unequal trade deals, when they demand land reform or debt forgiveness, what happens? Sanctions, smears, coups disguised as uprisings. That's why we say, enough. This isn't paranoia. It's a historical pattern. And if you're just waking up to it, now is the time to subscribe, to share, and to stand with platforms that pull no punches in exposing these truths. We are in a new kind of war, one fought not just with guns, but with cameras, contracts, and clickbait headlines. A war for the soul and sovereignty of the African continent. And at the heart of it is a simple question. Who gets to define our future? Will it be the same powers who drew borders in Berlin, who propped up dictators, who sold our minerals and returned with weapons? Or will it be us, the children of Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, who write a new story in bold, black ink? A future where we own our land, our economies, our media, and our voices. If this message resonates with you, don't scroll past. Don't be silent. Smash that like button, comment below with your thoughts, and spread the story to someone who still thinks Africa needs saving from itself. Because we don't. We need liberation. We need unity without compromise. And we need African leaders who no longer beg for seats at foreign tables, but build their own tables, on African soil, under African skies, with African hands. We will continue bringing you these truths, unfiltered, unapologetic, and unshaken. But only if you walk with us. So stay with us. More is coming. Let's keep going. Because the battle isn't just external, it's within. The psychological chains are often tighter than the physical ones. For decades, African leaders have been groomed, trained, and incentivized to think like proxies, not patriots. Degrees from Western institutions, handshakes in foreign capitals, trade deals dressed in aid, it all conditions them to measure success by how close they sit to power that was never theirs. But what does that power offer in return? More loans, more NGOs, more conditional partnerships with terms that gut local industries and flood markets with subsidized imports, making African production uncompetitive on its own soil. That's not development. That's managed dependency. Dr. Arikana said it plainly. If President Trump says his mandate is to serve his people, African leaders must adopt the same philosophy. You cannot beg respect. You command it by standing firm, rooted in your people's needs, not foreign applause. And for those who still romanticize foreign aid, she had a wake-up call. Aid, more often than not, is a weapon used to extract concessions, dictate domestic policy, and reward compliance with silence. This is why more Africans are welcoming the exit of certain foreign agencies, not out of hostility, but clarity. If the price of their presence is our stagnation, then their absence may be the first breath of actual freedom. Don't stop watching. If your heart beats with this vision of an Africa that owns its destiny, subscribe, share, and invite others to join this awakening. Because there is power in unity. And that's exactly what they fear. We've seen it before. Anytime Africa takes one step toward economic or military autonomy, the narrative changes. Leaders once hailed as reformers become threats. Grassroots movements become radical. Independent media? Labeled as disinformation. Every instrument is weaponized, from social media algorithms to international courts, to destabilize and discredit. And yet, the spirit of liberation persists. In the voices of youth refusing to inherit colonial debt. In communities defending their land from multinational plunder. In the journalists, activists, and revolutionaries risking everything to speak truth to empire. You watching this? You are part of that resistance. You are not alone. Comment below with your thoughts. Let the world see that Africans from Cape Town to Cairo, Dakar to Dar es Salaam, are awake, alert, and ready. We are no longer asking for inclusion in a system built to exploit us. We are building our own systems, just sovereign and African. So stay locked in. There's more to expose, more to unpack, and more voices to elevate. Let me know when you're ready to continue, because this movement isn't slowing down. Not now. Not ever. Let's press forward. Because what we're witnessing now isn't just a news cycle, it's a tectonic shift. The age of silent submission is closing. A new generation, unapologetic, unafraid, uncolonized in mind, is rising. And with it comes a truth that global powers have long tried to suppress: Africa is no one's pawn. From the corridors of the African Union to the streets of Ouagadougou, from student forums in Accra to village councils in Kisangani, the call is the same: self-determination, not supervision. Yet every time African nations try to chart a path independent of Western approval, the reaction is swift and brutal. Not with direct invasions. No, the tools are more sophisticated now: sanctions, misinformation, economic sabotage, and political infiltration. And the biggest weapon of all? Narrative control. Look how quickly land reform becomes white genocide. How a call for economic fairness is twisted into nationalist extremism. How challenging debt slavery is framed as economic irresponsibility. But who is writing these scripts? Who decides which African leader is democratic and which one is a strongman? Who shapes the international headlines? Who sets the moral compass when the same voices that cry foul over African land reform are silent about stolen Palestinian homes, Congolese cobalt, or Yemeni children dying from American bombs? The double standard is not just hypocrisy. It's a mechanism of control. If this resonates with you, hit subscribe now. Don't wait. Don't delay. Algorithms silence voices like this. Your support is resistance. And this is why media like this must exist. To remind Africans that we are not crazy, we are not alone, and we are not wrong for demanding what is ours. Our ancestors fought with machetes and fire. Today, we fight with memory, with clarity, with platforms like this, built not on foreign grants but African grit. And still, we ask, how deep does the rabbit hole of foreign control go? Because destabilization doesn't always come with tanks. Sometimes it wears a suit, speaks perfect English or French, and arrives with promises of capacity building or technical assistance. But the result is the same: dependency, surveillance, and stunted growth. We must be brutally honest. As long as African nations rely on others to define their success, they will remain trapped in someone else's agenda. This is not isolationism, it is sovereignty. It's the understanding that food security, mineral control, energy access, education, and infrastructure must no longer be outsourced. That the continent sitting on 60% of the world's arable land, on trillions in natural resources, and the youngest population on Earth, has every tool it needs to thrive, without begging. So why don't we? Because systems of extraction were never dismantled. They were rebranded. And every time an African country says, no more, it is met with destabilization disguised as diplomacy. But that too is changing. From grassroots agro-reform in Mali to digital currency movements in Nigeria, to Pan-African military coalitions forming quietly behind the scenes, something is shifting. And the West knows it. That's why their reactions are growing more desperate. This isn't fear of failure. It's fear that Africa may finally succeed on its own terms. If you're still here, this story has touched something in you. Don't let it stop at you. Like this video. Share it. Speak on it. Become the media our people need. Because the truth we reveal here will never make the evening news in Washington or Paris. But it will spark something in Lagos, in Addis, in Gaborone, in Banjul. And from there, it will spread. So now, we stand at the edge of a new dawn, or the echo of a familiar darkness. The stories from Burkina Faso, South Africa, Libya, and every nation resisting the puppeteer's grip are not isolated. They are chapters of the same epic, the African struggle for truth, dignity, and sovereignty. We have seen what silence brings. We have lived what dependence costs. And we know now, more than ever, that no savior is coming. We are the ones we've been waiting for. If you're tired of watching Africa be manipulated like a pawn in someone else's game, if your heart aches every time a leader with a spine is smeared or a movement for justice is crushed under sanctions, if you know deep in your spirit that Africa was never poor, only pillaged, then this is your moment. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. But now. Support the resistance. Subscribe to this channel so that these truths never go unheard again. Like this video to signal you will not be silenced. Share it with your friends, your family, your networks. Because every person awakened is one less mind colonized. And if you feel moved, if you believe in the power of this movement, send us a super thanks. Not because we ask for charity, but because we fight for clarity. Your support allows us to stay independent, fearless, and African to the core. We are not here to entertain, we are here to liberate minds. One truth at a time. Remember this, the world fears a united Africa. And that is exactly why we must unite, not just in borders, but in belief, in purpose, in voice. So stay awake, stay informed, and stay proudly, powerfully, unapologetically Pan-African. We will not stop. And neither should you.